Hello, Michael.
Hello, Vincent.
Hello, chat as well. I should really pay attention to what chat are up to. Welcome to the Legacy Premier League, as brought to you by Cardboard.live and many other sponsors that you'll hear about many times throughout the evening. I am Vince, also known as President Kobe on the internet. I've got Michael Bondo with me to talk about our first match.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I am excited, both commentating, watching, and also playing later tonight. So,
yeah, of course. Who is your matchup against?
I am playing against Wilton.
Okay.
The classic elves versus miracles or mentor.
How do you feel?
I feel great, and I also feel comfortable in the matchup.
Okay, I feel less confident playing against BBD on Grixis a bit later. Oh, it feels brutal. So we're about to see Jody, Keith versus Rudy Briksza. I probably just massacred the name as always because I'm British. And we are going to see Jody is on Landstill, blue-white Landstill, and Rudy is on Grixis Control. Yep. Who is your money on, Michael?
So I think these matchups are like, it's pretty much a draw-go matchup. So it can go both ways. I think if the Landstill gets like an early Landstill, then the game kind of like postpones until a point where people have to like play into it or play around it. So I think it's dependent on what we see in the openers and how the game proceeds in the first 4 turns. But it is a classic like control matchup, so it's gonna go long. It's gonna be grindy. It's gonna be great.
I don't know who to favour because I'm not really familiar with the matchup because obviously Landstill was quite an oddity in itself. It's like it's miracles but not. But I'm excited to see. I guess I'm favouring Landstills in terms of Grixis Control. I see as a bit of a menace. It's a bit dull. It's all the exciting Grixis cards in the format. So if someone can win with Standstill in their deck, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I think there is also like Standstill, oh, not a Landstill. Yeah, Standstill. Standstill is just such a good card if it like resolves. So it's 2 mana, so you get to do double spell like in 1 turn, and you get to like hide behind your factories. So there's a lot of bad cards in Culligan's Command and like all the removal spells that are usually good against like the field, but you will lack in counter spells and have more removal spells, which is just a very bad position to be in when you're against Landstill.
Looks like we're ready to start some games, though.
We are ready to start some games. So we have Mr. Burger King, Rudy Briksza on top, and we have Jody Keith on Miracle, or on the Landstill on the bottom.
So even you would say miracles, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, we don't see the title card. We don't really see much from Jody here. We see 2 Wastelands, a Mishra's Factory, and a Force of Will. Obviously, each player knows what their opponent is on, so it's not like Jody's looking to stop fast combo or anything here. He knows he's up against one of the grindiest decks in the format. So would you keep this to grind with? I think
Jody knows that there isn't that many like non-basic lands in Rudy's deck. So the 2 Wastelands is like half a spell or like 1 spell, like the 2 combined. Because he will get like non-basic at some point. But then the rest of the hand doesn't really do much. He has the factory, but having the factory in the Wasteland, he needs to like get to the Standstill at some point. So I think the hand is keepable because he has like the two spells and then the potential spell in Wasteland. But it is definitely not where you want to be.
Yeah, completely. He needs some gas off the top. He needs cantrips to find that gas. Or he just needs to find out the title card so he can actually get into this. Spell Pierce is weird. I guess it's just force food here because there's not any problematic non-creature permanents coming out of Grixis Control early on.
No, not really like in the beginning. And as we see, like Rudy's hand has like the non-basic land. So Jody, knowing this, he's like slow rolling the first Wasteland to also have Spell Pierce open.
Exactly. I mean, Rudy is playing 2 islands and 1 swamp, so he could fetch around Wasteland if he wanted to.
Yes.
And again, they know each other's lists, so he knows he's playing against Wasteland, but he's decided to go another non-basic into Powerful Strix, which drew him another non-basic. So perhaps these Wastelands might do quite a lot of work.
Yeah, so he could sort to Plowshares here. I actually like the play because there isn't really that much that he wants to deal with later, and he has the Force of Will to pitch if there is a Gurmag angle. I can't remember does he play Gurmag angle? He
plays 2 Gurmag.
Yeah. So I think he's just going to fire off the Wasteland here and see if he can stifle Rudy's next couple of turns. And he's going for the red source here because he sees that Rudy probably has more black sources.
The follow-up Strix here is not what Rudy necessarily wants to. Sorry, not what Jody wants to see after Wastelanding. He'd prefer no play here and for it to actually start capitalising on the lack of lands. But unfortunately, he did. But on the upside for Jody is that Rudy didn't hit another land off the Baleful Strix. So these brainstorms are what we're going to use to dig for land drops. Land drops is always pretty important in matchups like this because, well, it's a control mirror after all.
Yes, and as we see here, Jody, if he's a bit lucky that if Rudy's gonna brainstorm block himself, then the wasteland will actually be really, really essential in right here.
If he hits
he can even take the blue source if he wants to.
Yeah, it'll be.
He did go for the red source before, but I think he would go for the blue source here. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So this puts us in a situation where Rudy is hoping the top of his deck is going to be kind to him. Is it going to be kind? No.
It wasn't. Showcasing the power of Wasteland.
Even Brainstorm can't do him out of this. I guess Last Hope doesn't really do a whole lot in this matchup either because it doesn't mute the Mishra's factories. The factories can get around the uptick as well.
But the thing is, if the Last Hope gets gets on the board, it's pretty hard for the Jody to actually deal with it. So it is a good placeholder because it finishes the game at some point. But it will get hard to get on the board having this specific...
and he's drawn a third Wasteland. Wow. Okay.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's actually interesting why he would kill the bad lands, because he knows that Rudy is out of lands. So he needs to draw a blue source to actually cast it.
You prefer to wait for the next blue source to take that away?
Yeah, he could wait, but Rudy is probably gonna fetch an island, so it doesn't really do that much. So
okay, so yeah, firing it off there makes perfect sense.
So now he could actually attack with the factory and get to use his mana.
What do you think about the Rudy getting in with the Strix here instead of keeping it back to block the Mishra's factory?
I think Rudy wants to have Jody use his mana so that he can play something stupid. Because Rudy really needs to resolve the first card that he plays if it's through a non-basic land.
Ooh,
so
I
guess he wants to try and chip in some damage to see if he can snipe him because he thinks he's behind right now.
So we're going to have a Jace here potentially, and then we're going to have a small counterspell war, which I think Jody might come out on top with.
Yeah, so the first Jace, or the Jace, will take the Force of Will, and then the Force of Will take the other Force of Will. So Jace will resolve, and then he just needs to decide what he wants to do. He could also just, so he's just keeping up the Spell Pierce because he knows he's not in a rush right now.
Okay, so he'd rather play safe and not commit his forces to this. I guess his force is valuable in just taking Rudy off at any sort of out, I guess, any sort of pressure that he could apply. Because Go-Mag is now live, especially with the black source as well.
Yeah.
We've got Overvoltage in chat saying how drawing your basics in Grixis always feels bad, but I guess it doesn't feel so bad after Triple Wasteland, right?
Yeah. It is as I said in the beginning, the Wasteland just turned out to be a spell. It's just a Stone Rain, and Rudy not having that many ways of actually doing anything without blue swords. It's just it's really dictating the pace of the game. And here we get to see the Spell Pierce is just he was very good at waiting with the Jace, and then he drew another blue source, and then the Spell Pierce just became a hard counter in a matchup where it shouldn't be a hard counter. So that's that's very well played by Jody. Even though he's very very much ahead, he's still grinding the small edges and just. And
I mean, Jace's uptick now also makes it very unlikely that we're going to see Rudy hit lands, but he's brainstormed instead, and he's found Standstill.
Yeah. So Jody actually has a lot of plays here. He can Force of Will the Baleful Strix and then play a Standstill, and then it will be very, very hard for Rudy to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, two factories, a Jace and a Standstill does kind of make it look like he's ahead, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Before we factor in the fact that most of his lands are in the bin as well. So we come to rolling now. Let's have a look at these sideboards.
Yeah. So the Grixis control deck is like straightforward. It has like a lot of removal spells, and it has like a lot of cards that can like swap with the removal spells in the main deck. So as we see, Rudy is like taking out most of his removal spells. He's maybe keeping in 2 lightning bolts. And then he's just going for like the full grind. So now it's like a 100% control deck with some discards. Whereas the Standstill deck, it has like I don't know if it's a bit more options, but he has to deal with the creatures. So he's probably keeping in some of the Swords of Plowshares here. And also the Supreme Verdict.
Definitely. I mean, there's an interesting element here is that Grixis Control is full of removal. And also when you look at the sideboard here, a lot of the options for Grixis Control is further removal spells in some ways, engineered plagues and toxic deluge and all this sort of nonsense that doesn't really do anything against Standstill. Meanwhile, the other control deck does need some form of removal because Grixis wants to finish the game with conventional creatures that you actually have to cast in your main phase and sit around with.
Yeah. It's funny here that Rudy is porting out 1 Culligan's Command. Because that card is like really, really good against like the grind plan. But he thinks that having the Lightning Bolt is better in this spot.
I guess Bolt serves the purpose of neutering Factory and getting that off the board if it needs to. Threatens Walk. Well, it does a lot of the same things Culligan's Command does, but for a lot cheaper. So maybe he's fearful of the Wastelands. Or being able to have Pierce mana up as well. Like he's just got blown out by Wasteland plus Pierce, so maybe that's factoring into his judgment call.
Yeah, maybe. You could also on Rudy's side board into like the Surgical Extractions instead of the lightning balls, so that you can like lock Jody out of his like Crucible Factory or Crucible Wasteland lock, because Rudy only has 3 non-basics, and eventually he'll run out of red sources. And knowing each other's sideboard and main deck, Jody definitely knows that Rudy will be on the short side of having red mana eventually. That's maybe also why he's boarding out the Culligan's Command.
I see. Because I'm quite sad to see that Jody isn't playing a singular Ghost Quarter to really get there with that Crucible. That's when you know someone's committed to the mana denial plan.
Yeah, it's true. But I think Jody was, I wouldn't say lucky, like he had a plan and he stuck with the plan. And then the Wasteland just showcased his power, why it's a good card. And why sometimes the mana bases, like not fetching the island on turn 2 from Rudy, it ended up like definitely costing him the game.
That would have fundamentally changed how that game played out. Yeah. So I guess he took a risk, I guess, maybe perhaps you could say Rudy there, and it just did not pay off for Rudy at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a hand with the inevitability of the last hope, Force of Will, Fluster Storm, and a Culligan's Command from Rudy. Yeah. Versus. Oh, so the verdicts did come in or stay in? How did he play main? 2 main, 2 side, was it? No, 2 main, 1 side, so he's kept some in. But yeah, like I said, it makes sense. You've got conventional threats like Gomags and Belfrix and have to die at some point, right?
Yeah.
So
I think these hands are like pretty interesting. So, what do you think about Rudy's hand, Vincent?
I'm unsure. Like, I mean, he's got nothing to protect his Liliana with, and no cantrips either. But we've seen both players keep hands with 0 cantrips both games, which is pretty interesting. Maybe I value my 1-drop blue spells a bit higher because I don't get to play with them very often because I don't play the blue mid-range decks, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't play blue either. So,
but the K command is fantastic here. Like, whether he knows it or not, it's gonna help him get out from under a Crucible.
Yes.
But Jody's just drawn his first Wasteland, so we might be back in a similar situation. This time around, though, it looks like Rudy's not going to crack his fetches too early and get completely blown out. And I think we're going to see many more basics this game than we did last one.
Yeah, it is interesting, like the dance between if he wants to fetch like an island and a swamp, because then it's going to get hard to get Liliana on the board like later. And he's also like, but he's keeping these non-basics in hand so that he wants to fire it off in 1 turn, and then Jody can do his Wasteland shenanigans. But he's actually not fetching an island or a swamp here.
So he's drawn the Strix, which is fantastic because it allows him to actually protect his Liliana as well against random factories across the board. But you are right, no basic fetch there. If this other Delta doesn't get a basic, I'll be very surprised.
So the cool thing here from Jody is that he can actually like get 100% get some value out of his Crucible world. If he casts a Wasteland down and fire it off, and then when like Rudy tries to do something next turn when he has 3 mana, he's just gonna say like pass, and then the turn after he's gonna play Crucible and get his land drop from the Crucible.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna, because he knows about the Culligan's command, so I think he's gonna want value out of the Crucible, so it isn't just a mulligan or like tap 3 mana, do nothing.
That's an interesting point that whether or not he thinks Rudy's going to bring in Surgical, especially knowing that, because Rudy knows that Jody has a Crucible in his deck.
Yeah.
But
sorry, if I said Surgical, I meant the Culligan's command.
No, you said
he will have
command.
copies of
you said Culligan's command, 100%. But I was just thinking it's interesting that he might want to play around Surgical as well. But we saw that Rudy didn't bring it in at all anyway. He doesn't value it in this matchup, even with the Crucible in the main deck. But he's gone.
He's a bit unpatient here and wanting to like just use his mana, or he wants to use his mana, so that's
the exact opposite of what he was last game. So you sang his praises last time. I mean, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have saw I've got a Wasteland in hand and a Crucible, and I would have slammed that Crucible like it's Christmas. But he's now going to get cake man with it. He's got a Force of Will plus Supreme Verdict, but he's just unfortunately going to get forced back. It's whether or not he decides to fight over this in particular, isn't it?
Yes, I think you don't really need the Supreme, and especially when having like both Counters Judgment and Engineered Explosives, you want to like just throw away the Supreme, and if Rudy has it, he has it. But he's definitely thinking about like either Pyroblasts or the Red Elemental Blast or the counter spells in Flusterstorm here. And Rudy actually has like both. He both have Force of Will and the Flusterstorm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I would be fighting over this Crucible as well, considering the rest of my hand composition. But unfortunately, he's going to be in for a bad time with that.
It depends if Rudy thinks that it's not worth the counter.
I don't know. Okay, so Jody does not want to use his Force of Will to protect that.
He probably knows that something fishy's up with the Polluted Delta.
Yeah, 100%.
But like we know that it's a Flusterstorm that Rudy has in his hand, so it is kind of awkward for Jody, because the Flusterstorm will just counter a spell like later on.
Yeah.
It can counter the Landstill or the other like essential cards, but it wins most of the counter wars.
So Jody's took him off red. Obviously not literally, because obviously Polluted Delta can get that as well. Yeah. And he's getting nickel and dimed by this mechanical bird slapped upside of the face. And now we're going to see Liliana the Last Hope, which is going to provide that inevitability you mentioned earlier, where it doesn't really have much. We've got Counterspell followed by Force of Will. So actually,
yeah. So it turns out great for Jody here. Him being like patient, he's actually getting through the Flusterstorm here, or he's like he's pitching a Force of Will and a Supreme Verdict to kill the Liliana after the Flusterstorm resolves. So that is pretty good. Then it's him facing off a Baleful Strix with some removal spells. He's actually not doing it because he wants to get the value out of his Counter Judgment. So I really like that play as well.
So you think keeping the Force for something else and cancelling is much better here? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like Liliana doesn't really do anything on the board.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to 2 for 1 himself either.
Yeah, so he probably wants to like keep it for Jace or something that actually like progresses the game.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like if Rudy had like a card in the graveyard, like a creature, he definitely should have minused. And there's also a play where you minus it just to get lucky because you know that it's probably not nice. But I definitely like plussing it just to see if you can get into the long game and just ulting it, because then you're not gonna win.
He's not using his counter judgment. He's decided to give her 3 counters and engineered explosives, which isn't the most common thing you see in the world, but still pretty good.
Oh, and Rudy drew a Hymn to Trollfair, which is gonna be like devastating.
It's interesting because obviously playing the EE on 3 does open him up to another K command, but I guess he's got Force to protect it. But yeah, interesting. We are settling into a real grind fest here, but I guess Liliana's going to grind much harder than what Jody's got going for him at the moment. Oh, here we go. Let's roll that dice.
So this is gonna turn out pretty great for Jody again. Like he's really like, even though I'm I'm not certain I would have played like the same with the Internet Explosive instead of the councils, etc. He's really, you can see that he's having a plan that he wants to use as much mana each turn as possible. And I can definitely see where he's coming from, and he's fighting over specific cards that I would definitely fight over and not fight over, having taken the line that he's taking. So
there is an interesting point in that if him was, because there's obviously that Jody was protecting his him there with the force as well, right? So so would forcing the force to keep the him resolving to get rid of whatever that last card is in Jody's hand would have been correct? Because I guess you might be calling someone's bluff, because that. Yeah, I think I would have been all in, just stripping that hand away and using Liliana to. Well, I guess the problem is Liliana's definitely dying as well, so we're back to grinding. He's not getting any further ahead.
Yeah, but I think the Baleful Strix is pretty good, and having like 5 mana next turn, like if you draw, you have a Force of Will that you can just hardcast, and you have a Strix on the board, so you're not really in a hurry here. Like the last card, what can it be? Like you can just force the last card and take out of take the turn away from.
Hey, you can't force a Supreme Verdict, but that's not exactly the card you're worried about here.
I think if the last card is the Supreme Verdict, when he just fits a Supreme Verdict, if he potentially played 2, I think you would just be fine with it.
I mean, I wasn't taking into account the fact that Liliana was definitely dying.
Yeah.
So I've momentarily forgot that Internet Explosives was going to deal with her. We've got a factory draw from Jody, so he's actually got some creatures to attack with now.
Yeah. Then he's probably going to pump it here, so it's going to get up to 3. And maybe we see Rudy play the Brainstorm here to see if he wants to kill it in response. He could do it. He could also just say whatever and try to play the Strix. He kept up the mana here so that he can force a will, but also have the Brainstorm and the Fish Land.
I mean, the advantage bar is still firmly on Rudy's side, just from like the amount of value he's got in hand. Like, look at this. The K command as well is going to blow out a
yeah, that's pretty good.
Calculation. That's a very good draw.
I think a fun thing about Brainstorm is the card is just so hard to play. Rudy here thinks that he wants to see like, what am I getting? Like, which card can I have my hand, like, can my hand be better than it is right now? So let's fire it off to see if I should play the Baleful Strix. But what it did is it didn't really do much here. It just looked at some cards, so it gave him information. So here he valued information over actually getting rid of cards, which is always like super interesting when people play Brainstorm.
Well, it's that also, it's like that cat inside the box. You don't know if the top of your deck's going to be gas. So in that case, at least he's not drawing 2 more fetch lands, because he'll crack this Tarn and transfer those cards into pure gas as well. I always joke that Brainstorm feels like a tutor when you've got a fetch land up.
Yeah, the thing is, if it was because you could also just play the Baleful Strix, draw a card and see what that is, and then have the Force of Will back up with the Culligan's Command when Jody's trying to pressure.
Oarsman79 in the chat is saying that he doesn't agree with keeping this Baleful Strix up either. He thinks that he should be slumming it down. I guess it's more of a threat, more of a clock as well.
Yeah.
But whose idea was it to put both of us on coverage when we hardly ever play Brainstorm decks? Whose idea was that?
Well, I think it gives an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. Chat look at these fair inverted commas fair creatures players talking about Brainstorm, they know anything.
I think it's somewhat of not many players have the same agreement on how fun or how nice it is to play Brainstorm. Like the pregame show also kind of showcased that you're stupid if you didn't play a Brainstorm deck in a 15-round tournament, and I could not agree less. I think it's
I mean, I'm quite I hate that line of thinking. I hate that elitism around Brainstorm as well. I mean, sometimes I surprise myself with how powerful Brainstorm feels when I get to play with it. I mean, I built Show and Tell recently to play in paper to get a bit of a different feel for Legacy. And sometimes it does feel like you're almost cheating because you see such consistency and so many more cards in your deck and things. But there's a lot more to Legacy, as Julian will agree as well, than just playing blue cantrips that lock you in different fetches.
It's kind of interesting here that both players they don't have that many resources. Like Rudy obviously has like a lot more resources than Jody, but they're both like super passive. They're not really doing much.
I mean,
just
I guess both of their clocks are terrible, right? Like, there's no Mirroring Crusader in play here. There's no equipment. This is just a 1/1 bird and some factory boys that are going to get blown up when they get activated. Yeah. I guess Jody's got the read that there's probably a K command in hand now.
Yeah, And I think there's a fun dance because Rudy isn't really like putting pressure on the board. He is playing the Baleful Strix now because he both have like the Culligan's Command and the Pyroblast up. So I guess we can see him attack here with yes. So he's gonna like try to chip in some damage so that he can close the game. It is a 5-turn clock with the or 4-turn clock with the Culligan's Command.
Interestingly, I don't think any of Jody's removal actually kills the Strixes without putting them in exile, other than Verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, because he already used the Engineering Explosive. So
yeah, so
as always, the Strix is just like super irritating.
Yeah, those K commands are never getting Strixes back because he's not getting the full value meal with fries and a large milkshake, but getting a Baleful Strix back and killing a dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm still feeling like Rudy is favoured here, especially with that K command. K command's such a good card. I wish it was never printed.
Yeah. So he's gonna attack here with both his cards because he just has so much in his backhand. So like regardless of what Jody plays, almost at this spot, he will accept actually a Rest in Peace. He can't deal with that card specifically. But if he tries to attack with the Mistress Factory, he has a Culligan's Command, so that he's gonna discard Jody. If Jody plays like Brainstorm again, he has the Pyroblast, and then he has like he can finish him off by dealing 5 damage like in the next 2 turns. So
this is where Rest in Peace also raises its head as being a very awkward sideboard card against the fair decks that care about their graveyards, because it was just a pretty mediocre, if not terrible, top deck here as well. Like, I mean, it doesn't even stop a Gomag at this point because he can just hard cast one anyway. So,
but I think what is like the thing is about this specific like game is that Rudy kind of played his deck played the plan that it's supposed to do, whereas Jody kind of got like he didn't really get to play his game. He was always like a turn behind. He didn't like win the counterspell wars, and he didn't get value out of his Wasteland Factory Crucible worlds. So it is more like the dance went into like Rudy's favor here.
So are you saying more that the Rest in Peace would have been a lot better at this stage if there was more of an even field? You mean?
Yeah. So if you would have played like earlier, and
of course it's great. It's great early on when it's stopping him from getting value of K commands or Snapcasters or Gomax.
But the thing is, it's kind of a piece of a puzzle. He's gonna like lock down the Gurmag Anglers and kill like the lands and deal with the Strixes. Like even though it's gonna be awful for him like value wise. So drawing it as a top deck is like playing the Junt Mirror and drawing a Thoughtseize like in turn 19. Yeah, it's always like awful, but sometimes it just happens.
Oh yeah, and sometimes it's the most powerful sideboard card you could possibly have as well. I mean, chat are quite interested in the Rest in Peace and Crucible combo.
It is the number one would say. So, but I don't know.
I mean, weirdly, this game is closer than it looks because that Strix is a 4-turn clock, and this Factory is currently a 4-turn clock. Unfortunately, as always,
he's in for a surprise here.
Yeah, Rudy's got the bolt.
Let's see if Rudy is like. Does Jody slow rolling this one?
Yeah, does Jody pierce the bolt and hope he doesn't pay for it? Is that what he does? No, he just lets it go.
So the nice thing about this is we're gonna get a game 3.
Yeah, which is great. It's always good to see more legacy. So he brought in both the rips? Yeah, both the rips. They're both in there. There's nothing really else in the sideboard he can get very excited about. I mean, that Snapcaster could come back in, but again, you just got more non-synergy with your Rest in Pieces.
So Rudy really drew a lot of lands in this game. Like, he's playing 21 lands, and he had 7 on the board and shuffled away 2. And I think he fetched 3 times. So, like, Jody's mana denial plan didn't really work in this game. So hopefully it will work like the next game when he's on the play. He can get to resolve the standstill, and we can see how the deck plays out. Because
we have yet to see a standstill really make any difference as well.
Yeah, so this was mainly like Jody all being like behind like the entire game, and Rudy just like pushing the advantage bar. We saw the protein bar like up in next to his name. So hopefully we'll see like Jody's deck like do its thing, and we'll see like a grindy matchup again.
Well, we did see Rudy thumb over his surgicals a moment ago, but he's opted not to bring. Does he have 2? Where is that second surgical gone? Is it still in his sideboard or is it?
There's 8, 12, 13, 14. There's only 14 showcased on the top of the screen. Yeah, so I think it's next to the Culligan's command, the last.
Okay. Because he was looking at it. He was considering it, I guess, after seeing the Crucible and being reminded. Oh, there we go. It definitely is there. Mike just showed it to us. So he considered it, but he thought not to. And obviously, Surgical's one of the most overboarded cards in all of Magic, right? Like every stream I do, I get told, "Why are you bringing Surgical in?" Like it's like Delver and stuff. Surgical the Delvers. I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, when you own a like $52 card from a new Briksza or one of Masters,
you have to play it.
You have to play it sometimes. So he's even boarding it out here. I don't know if I wanted to board it out before I board out like the second Rest in Peace.
This is interesting. He's thinking of bringing bodies in. I think that's what the can lists are here. But obviously, they have this the fringe application of shutting down Snapcaster.
Yeah.
But he considered some extra bodies, but decided not to.
Yeah, it's also just a Grizzly Bear, and people often joke like it's just a vanilla 2/2, but sometimes it's just what the control matchups needs. It is pretty awful against Culligan's man though, so
yeah, I guess and it's one of those bears that sometimes it's doing a lot more than you realise until you see your opponent's hand after the game, and it was locking them away behind like one spell a turn. This hand from Jody, there's a card we can't see. I think the hand has shifted over a little bit. I think that is a 7. Oh, there we go.
It is a Sword Splasher, so he's probably gonna mulligan this hand because it doesn't really do that much with only having 1 plains. If it had 1 more blue source, the hand would actually be pretty good.
Yeah, agreed.
And this hand is also like super awkward.
I mean, Rudy's hand seems quite formidable as well, so this is not looking good for Jody. But he's kept the 1 lander, and he's just going to believe in the heart of the cards. Did we see what he scried?
No, I did not see it. It was the top.
Modo. I was playing Modo, so it was Modo's fault. Well, Counterspell is the exact opposite of what Jody wanted to see here. Some might say the last thing he wanted to happen.
Yeah, so he probably scried on the bottom when he drew a Counterspell.
Yeah.
I'm doing the research here. So
this is very interesting because Rudy can't really go in on a door. Well, he could actually. He's got the Polluted Delver in hand, so he could have made the Baleful Strix there, but he decided not to. He decided to keep up mana instead. I guess he doesn't want a Standstill to come up, does he? Yeah,
I don't know. Like the factory is kind of awkward because it's fast. It's a faster clock than the Baleful Strix. But I think if you have a Strix on the board, you're fine with Jody just like tapping out for a Standstill.
Yeah, and I don't even know why Rudy, because the Faster Storm can't count Standstill anyway. So I'm not sure what he was keeping up there. I guess the Pyroblast.
And Jody is really drawing like the awful sources for his hand, like complete busted hand of blue cards.
He plays 1 Caracas and 2 plains. Aside from that, it's 4 factories, 4 strands, 2 Misties, 4 islands, and 3 tundras, and an underground sea.
Yeah.
So statistically, he's more likely to draw a blue source, but sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles and Magic.
Yeah, I guess it's because he's playing like Rivals of Ixalan.
He's cursed. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think he would if he would have done like some sweet APAC or something.
Transformational D&T sideboard tech, apparently.
Yes, I agree.
Well, Wastelands, Caracas, and Plains. He's got a D&T mana base and a mono control hand, and it's not matching up very well.
It's pretty nice.
But on the other side, Rudy has no pressure right now, so there's a chance he just draws a blue land and gets a Standstill down, right? I say this in his mind. Obviously, we've got a Force of Will sat across the table.
Yeah. So Rudy is really just not respecting the Wastelands here. He just keeps on not wanting the island. But now he did play the Baleful Strix, having both Flusterstory and Pyroblast up.
It definitely attacks his sideboard card as well.
Yeah, it's really... So, like, there is still, like, a way for Jody to get back into the game. If he draws a blue source here, I think Yes. Then Rudy is probably gone. Like he's played really, really passive for the last couple of turns. So I don't think he's just gonna slam the Jace here because no, he's gonna play the Baleful Strix.
Okay.
Just to see if he can have Jody not utilize like the cards that he saw from Proxies.
So it's interesting if we see Jody go back to his game one persona of being quite patient, because obviously another blue source would unlock one of his pierces to allow him to actually resolve the Landstill.
Yeah,
but
I don't think you can like the awkward thing about Standstill is it's a card that it has to be status quo or you have to be like ahead on the board.
Yeah.
It's very, very not good when you. And as I'm saying that, he draws like the second copy.
So his title card's not going to do much.
No.
He hasn't got a factory. He hasn't got a whole lot here. He's got a lot of permission.
Yeah. So again, like due to Jody having to mulligan and keeping like the one lander, he actually drew into like a decent hand, but it's just not playing out well against the Grixis hand. And he's doing like the 1-1 and the 2-1 beats here, and really just like creating his hand for later purpose. So he's probably gonna draw the volcanic so that he has enough mana to double spell if that is needed.
On the upside, we've seen very few Gurmag anglers, so I'm probably gonna get them all next round in my games, aren't I? Just Gurmag after Gurmag.
Yeah, probably. So a fun card here would be if Jody drew like engineered explosives.
Sure.
Because then he could get rid of the board, and then he just has to fight over the.
So he has outs
Jace.
then with things like you are right. Yeah. So
Rudy opts to play the Colligan's command because he knows that Jody doesn't have any lands in hand, so he's gonna get like a spell. I think I would have just let it resolve, taking 2 damage and discarding his Standstill. Because Standstill doesn't really do much, and just keep up the spell pierce for.
Yeah, I mean, he basically transforms the Standstill into a pierce of sorts there, as opposed to using the one that's in his hand and far more useful as it can target what he needs later on.
Yeah, he will go down to 8, which then is a 2-turn clock. So I guess taking that into consideration.
To draw the EE.
So let's see here. Rudy's hand is just.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's just like perfect.
He's having his cake, eating it, to save him some for tomorrow to have for breakfast.
Yeah. So Mike also gave him the protein bar next to his name. So he definitely has the advantage bar here.
Part of me wants him just to cast 2 Standstills and be done with it. And be like, that's my deck. Well, the Gideon does buy him another turn.
He's gonna pitch the Forest, Lightning Bolt, end of turn, and then just finish the game. Because then Force of Will is out of the option.
This is the point where if he could turn to the chat, but they've always got it. It's not even that. His hand did not align well with his mana base whatsoever.
Yeah,
he had a lot of permission that could have kept him in the game, but he just couldn't cast any of it at the right times. Unfortunately, quite unfortunate.
Got our friendly Rudy.
Yep, wasn't he one of the underdogs of the tournament as well? And he's just tearing it up with Grixis control.
Yeah,
swearing heart.
So how this tournament works is there's a losers bracket and there's a winners bracket. So right now we're playing the winners bracket, and the loser here, Jody, he goes down to the losers bracket. So he actually has one more shot of winning in the grand finals. But Rudy advances in the winners bracket, and if he wins the next round, I think he's gonna go to the finals of the winners bracket.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm very bad at this stuff. I'm just like, what week am I playing? Who's playing? What's going on? Someone tell me. But obviously you're keeping a better tab of that than I am.
But I think Rudy is. I guess he's locked for 4th place now as a minimum. So he must be in the semifinals. So the next win will put him into the finals, where he can potentially play against Jody again in the grand finals.
If Jody claws his way back up, yeah.
Yeah.
And also at that point they're playing different decks as well. So
yes.
You're playing. So for those who don't know, the format is you pick 3 decks to take into the finals, quarterfinals, semifinals. and then you get to swap them around. Much more exciting. I'm really excited if I can get to that stage. I just want to play 3 more decks. But, we'll see. Yeah, I'm not feeling confident. It's BBD. He's pretty good, I've heard.
He is a master indeed. So I don't know. We forgot to talk about it like before the game. If you see like up here and up here, I think if I'm doing this right with my fingers, there should be like a small button where if you push it, you get the entire deck list of both players. It's called Cardboard.live, and it's like a very, very nice tool for the stream. It's unique. Cardboard.live, sorry, not Cardboard.live. Cardboard.live. So when you get into like the stream and you're like, what is the deck? You just press on these buttons and then you get like the complete deck list. So you can see what should be the sideboard. So you can try to like do the sideboard on your own before you see them do the sideboard. So it's pretty sweet. So you should definitely check it out when the next match gets up. And
it's
Vincent,
the future of Twitch streaming Magic, right? It's so good. It's so good.
Seeing it here first. So Vincent, you're up next. Am I correct, or is it round 4?
Yes, I'm about to go and clash with Brian Bran Ruined by the time I'm finished with him.
Yeah, there was some trash talk in our.
There was. There's a bit on Twitter as well. Apparently, I'm Vincent Van Going out of the tournament, which makes no sense because my surname has nothing to do with Van Gogh. But there you go. There you go.
So, Vincent, I am gonna commentate the next round. So, I think before you go, you should say thank you to the sponsors.
Yes. So thanks for everyone for watching. I've enjoyed commentating. Thank you to our sponsors, Cardboard.live and Card Hoarder. And I wish you luck for your round later, Michael. And hopefully I'll see you in the quarterfinals or something.
Yes, let's